Andy Burnham, the Manchester Mayor, who has just capped bus fares in Greater Manchester at £2. What's your response to that, first of all?
I think it's really good news. We all want a reliable way to get around, get to work, get to college or school without sitting in dirty traffic. And one of the problems has been that buses are too expensive. You've got to pay for different tickets with different bus operators sometimes, and they don't go where you want or when you want, which pushes us into expensive cars. And they're getting more expensive to run. So the answer is to have much more local solutions, starting with cheaper bus fares and reliable buses. And then hopefully, as Andy Burnham's ambition is to get the buses back under local control so we can actually have a system in place where we've got the buses going where people want so people can get them to school.
Right. I mean, that's an interesting point, because a lot of people in Greater Manchester and actually in other regions will say, well, it's not just the cost, it's the fact that the routes are making it more expensive. You have to go into cities to get back out again, things like that. Is that the case?
That is the case now. They often run from the outside to the inside of towns or cities. And in rural areas, they often go at sort of ridiculous times, so you can get into town but not get back for 8 hours. So that's why we need local areas to be able to control the timetables, the routes and the fares, so that you've got a proper system. So you can get a link bus, get another bus, so they go where you want, when you want.
And as a climate resilience consultant, what's your appraisal of Andy Burnham's performance as Manchester Mayor overall?
Overall, he's set a climate neutrality target, a carbon neutrality target of 2038. He's brought together all the local authorities, a lot of the businesses and communities to start to work towards that. And he's got quite a good systems approach, particularly to transport, so we can see more bike routes, more walking routes coming, and getting the buses back under local control is part of that overall system to drive down emissions from transport, which represent about a third of our national emissions, half of which are from cars.
Just briefly, I mean, some people have said that, taking buses back into local control is actually going to be much more expensive than it currently is the case. Do you think that's true?
Currently, we do have subsidies for private bus operators, and so they'll be taking a great chunk of profit as well. I think bringing it back into local control means we've got local accountability, so if we're not happy with it, we can do something about it.
Okay.
I think it means we can get investment, we can get cleaner air, because that kills a lot of people through air pollution as well.
That's all we've got time for, but fascinating to talk with you. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
For more on this story, we're joined now by Abby O'Connor, who is a housing and inequality researcher at Liverpool University. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the electricity bills for Liverpool Council have shot up by 16 million, and that's not just because of the cost of living, is it? Can you tell us what on earth happened there?
So what happened was, effectively, the bottom line is someone simply didn't do their job, a fact that both you and I would not actually be able to get away with, of course, not least if we were involved in governance in a city that's crippled by austerity. So what happened was there was clearly a breakdown in communication in the city council. This is a Labour-led city council that's already embroiled in a crisis in terms of elected members. And the bill simply wasn't paid. And what's happened is that we now can't afford to heat our schools and our fire service because of this mistake that was made. And I appreciate in the report it says that the chief executive has said sorry, but sorry doesn't pay our bills and sorry doesn't heat the schools that our children attend, some of whom actually aren't accessing heating at home. We've got such huge issues with food banks and poverty in the city, so it's a disaster, really.
So you mentioned, sorry is not enough, and what would you like to see happen?
We need paper trails, we need decisions being made public, and we need proper accountability and scrutiny. These people are elected officials, they are entrusted with the support of the people in the city, and they need to be accountable to us. You and I are held accountable by our bosses, and we have to answer to our actions, and so should they.
Okay. Does that mean, would you want to see the mayor, that's a Labour mayor, isn't it, Joan Anderson, should they be sacked?
I think it's not just, I think saying that one person should be sacked really undermines this issue. This is a deep-rooted issue within the culture of the city council. It's not just one bad apple. This runs really deeply. So I think we need to, instead of turning around and pinning this on one person, we need to think deeply about how the city is structured and how it's run. And who it serves, really. Is it for the people of Liverpool, or is it for the people that earn £80,000 a year and live a very happy life?
Well, what's the correlation there between making a mistake, which is essentially failing to pay a bill, and being geared towards the wealthy? What's the link there?
The link is that the people in Liverpool City Council have a history of not acting in good faith in favour of the people in the city. Anyone that lives in the city will be well aware that before Mayor Joe Anderson, our existing mayor was arrested for corruption and was embroiled in many scandals that directly took land from the people in the city and caused harm throughout. So this is not, as I said, it's not just one issue that the residents are seeing, it's continuous.
It's longer term than that.
Yeah.
All right, fascinating to talk to you. That's all we've got time for. Thanks
Thank
so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.